It's not often that as a composer you get to meet fellow composers and talk with them and actually exchange knowledge and share experiences.
We're a music production company based in Venice, California, and we embarked on a project last year that involved working with people from many different parts of the world. And we wanted to share the story of how it all came together.
There's a place here in Los Angeles where I usually have lunch or coffee with a dear friend of mine, composer Carlos Iliotto, who introduced me to Damir Price, the leader of Red Cola Company. And he introduced me to him. He told me he basically does music for trailers. He came up with this idea of going to record a live string orchestra to make some music for trailers that has a unique sound, that has a unique process of realization, which is spending time together, being there all in the same house with other composers and being there with the live players and talk to them and have a whole human experience that will give a depth to our music that no other experience could. So the next step was meeting each other in my hometown, Matera.
We learned that the city was going to be the cultural capital of Europe in 2019, and I thought maybe the city would like to get involved with what we're doing and find a way of doing something together. And Federico went and met with the mayor of the city and came back just, excited. The city offered us 2 spaces where we could do something like this, and one of them was this beautiful place called Casa Cava, built in a cave, kind of a stone quarry. And now it's turned into this modern amphitheater. So we found a way to assemble everybody from different corners of the world. Next thing you know, we're in Naples. Meeting each other for the first time. None of these guys knew each other. There's always this sort of fret of, are we going to get along? We are complete strangers. Am I going to have a handful of divas behind me complaining about every little thing?
I think traveling there was the most anxious part of the whole trip, because I'm not a fan of flying. I don't like it too much. And I knew that in 2 hours I was going to meet up with 7 other amazing composers that I never met before, including Damir.
And that was kind of an adventure, because you had no idea how the atmosphere was going to be. Either it was like cool and relaxed and they were all cool guys, or it could have been total disaster. Like, you never know what kind of people you get if you only know them by email.
As I work with so many from around the world, we go back and forth, mostly through email. One thing kind of hit me is that there was very little interaction, very little direct interaction between us. There were, initial demos would come in and we would kind of start going back and forth and send notes and revisions. And I really started thinking that not having this personal interaction was probably hurting the process. There was a good deal of organization and back and forth, and we ended up in a house on a farm hosted by a beautiful man named Vito, who turned out in one of the great memories of our stay over there, with his kindness and hospitality.
And we were there, living there for 10 days, deciding who had to share the room with who, and making music together and having pizza and cooking lunches and dinners, having breakfast.
One of the best parts of the trip was the Italians. And the guy we lived at, he was also an incredible experience. I mean, one of the days he came with a friend, I think it maybe was his cousin, I cannot remember, and then he just started making food for us.
Vito and
Antonio.
Antonio. Mille grazie. Thank you.
Okay.
Some boar he just shot himself, and he grilled it, and it took him 3 hours with his friends to make food for all of us. And he just did it because he wanted to be nice. I mean, it was amazing. It was one of the best meals I ever had.
Our first recording session was in a small studio.
In Angelo's studio in the middle of the ancient part of town.
So the recording sessions were very intense, I would say.
So to begin with, the obstacles were more creative. Some of the things we'd written weren't working quite as well, so there was a bit of a moment where our hearts were sinking a little.
So, did you bring changes lately to the score?
Yes.
Can you tell them where?
The final section, there's a bar rest.
Questo già lo sento, viene suonata prima.
I didn't know how it was gonna go. Yesterday we hit some snaggles. I mean, there was some definite tension. We were not sure if our pieces were too difficult, if we had written work that was realistic in this tiny time frame with really hard music.
Yeah, it was very challenging for the players because the music was very complex most of the time. A lot of fast passages. Just all around music that is very hard to sight read.
So we overcame those problems by having a bit of an emergency meeting.
If there are sections that you could play better by simplifying it, let's discuss that.
Cominciano a suonare a battuta 3, 2 vuote più 8, loro cominciano a battuta 3, è la nostra terza, quando cominciano loro non dobbiamo contare 10.
When we had this emergency meeting and we were talking about how we would have to change the music and simplify things, I think the mood was maybe a little tense. I think it's very easy as a composer to become quite precious about the music you've written and to feel like that's how I want it to sound. It has to sound like that, or I might not be 100% happy. But then at the same time you have to think that you're writing music that serves a purpose as well. So you have to take away a little bit of your own ego and your own kind of desire to have everything sound exactly as you want to, and settle somewhere in the middle, I think.
So maybe then from the get-go, have the cellist not play these notes at all, so you could actually use it in the main note. Okay, rehearsal mark. So you guys.
Siamo abituati.
I'll show one, I'll show two, I'll show three.
After the session, we had an idea of how things could work, and we discussed what we had to do the day after, and we had dinner at Jenny's bar, which is beside of the studio in the same place.
Hearing how the string players were tackling the newly simplified scores and the fact that they had a bit more time to work on them, it was all coming together so much better. And I think everyone was starting to feel, like this is really working out a lot better. That was also reflected in the mood of everybody afterwards when we went out for a meal, and everyone was feeling really good, eating and drinking together, just having a really nice time.
I also want to mention our amazing recording engineer. Super nice guy, very open, always in a good mood, always making jokes.
Registrando musica fatta da dei compositori che...
Very funny, but also very professional, very supportive. You could always feel that he's there and he's controlling everything and he's really focused.
Not a problem. Drums, piano,
everything is stereo.
1, 2.
Cool. First little short story, guys. Beautiful. Thank you. Awesome. Last night we were working with a smaller ensemble, and so after recording at Angelo's studio with the smaller ensemble with the quintet, we ended up moving on to the larger space, to Casa Cava, with the larger ensemble.
Everybody ready? Okay, Angelo's ready, orchestra's ready. I think I'm ready. Let's do it.
Questo è 140? E magari tu ti sleghi come volete. Conto 2 fuori. 150, 150.
So one of the cool things about recording in this beautiful space is that the space actually became kind of a character in this whole story. It was really inspiring to be in this cave surrounded by these rocks, and then the modern architecture, it feels very modern within this kind of raw space. Everybody was really inspired, and we had a general time schedule as to when we would record. Of course, the Italian way would start a little bit after the schedule, but come the ending of it, 10 p.m., we were supposed to be finished by 10 p.m., they would not even think about walking out. They would be like, hey, let's stay in, let's do another take, let's do it over, we can do it better. And that was really inspiring for me and for all the composers involved. The last evening before we packed up and all left for our respective countries, we had a little concert for the city, and to me that was really cool. We got to present all the stuff that we recorded in the same place at Casa Cava.
E quando arriva il successo, come arriva il successo, possiamo dire che siamo stati dei privilegiati. Perché anch'io ho avuto un sogno, il sogno di vedere il riscatto dei Sassi, inseguito per 40 anni, quando tutti deridevano.
Veronica.
music that's generated in this way has more of a human feel. It connects with the audience on a different level because it has real players behind it. It has real passion.
The difference is you have this huge breathing apparatus, human beings being in sync together, moving air, you know, breathing like I said, and also, you know, communicating, feedback, back and forth, which you don't have with a computer. And here you can adjust and bring the human aspect.
I think it's an amazing idea that Daimir came up with. You know, we're all composers, so we do this for a living and we do this like every day, the whole day, but we're just sitting there in front of our screens and working on our computers, and it's great, but sometimes it gets repetitive. So in contrast, having us meet up, talk to each other, get to actually know each other, get to show our stuff to each other and discuss music, I don't know, it's so much better.
I think we got something really great. I think we've got some special music there, and it wouldn't have come together like that if we hadn't had this opportunity to all be together and bounce ideas off each other and figure out how to tackle this as a team.
What an opportunity to go and connect with all these people that I only knew as what their work sounds like and what their email addresses look like. I think living life is the inspiration we all talk about, and I think living life together will solve the problem of inspiration and what do I do, because life is inspiration if we tap into it the proper way.